What's up, nerds? Y'all know the drill at this point. It's another tier list video. Let's see who we can piss off today by simply talking about the most well-respected tier list in the Honkai Star Rail community, at least on the EN side of things, right? We're here again at pridewind.gg taking a look at the tier list for Memory of Chaos, and here we are mostly because of Lingsha. Let's be honest, that's why we're here. So let's go ahead and take a look at this, because a lot of folks were like, when they heard about her, what her kit's gonna do, they were a little bit worried. They were a little bit worried that this character is just gonna be Gallagher 2.0. And in a lot of ways, she kinda is, but she does have more versatility. She has more tools, and I think there's a lot of value there. And let's go ahead and talk about that, because yes, for break teams, if you've already got a super strong Gallagher, you don't necessarily need to have a Lingsha. Let's talk about it, right? She's a fire type healer, and I'm pissed about it too, right? Because, bro, Hoyoverse, what are you guys smoking over there, okay? Can I get 2 of those, please? Because that must be some good stuff, because what brain dead move was this? You decided to make a fire healer, right? And then like a couple of months later, you decided to make the next healer a fire healer as well? Excuse me? Hello? Brain dead much? Who screwed this up? Check this out, right? We have a look at here at the top of the sustainability slot here, right? We have adventuring here, imaginary. We have wind, we have quantum, fire, imaginary, quantum. Down here in tier 2, we have Gallagher, who's an ice type, right? He's still viable. I think he gets a bad rap these days because there's just so many other good options besides him. But anyways, let's keep moving down. Then you have a lightning type in Bailu. Then you have, an ice and a physical. Why on earth did we not get like a lightning type Lingsha or a physical type Lingsha? It would have made so much more sense. So we'll keep moving into like her kit and stuff like that in a sec, but like, I think this means that it's probably likely we'll get a preservation character next, considering we did get 2 healers, like not back to back exactly, because we got, I think, Gallagher and Aventurine on the same patch, if I'm not mistaken. And then we got Lingsha. So more than likely, the next sustainability character is probably going to be a preservation character. So my assumption is that we're probably going to end up getting like a preservation lightning or a preservation like physical in the future. And because of the plans they may have already had set in motion for that, that's probably why this happened, why we got 2 fire healers in a row. And so it does suck, right? There's a lot of similarities here, but don't forget, dude, Lingsha has follow-up synergy, right? She can work as a follow-up sustain. Sure, maybe she's not adventuring or anything like that, but having more tools in the toolbox is always very handy, right? I have every single character in the game. And one thing I really like to do is play with Acheron, not just because she's OP as hell, but because she's a lot of fun to use, and because I like big swords, and she's got a big sword. That's what she said, I guess, right? So I like playing with the character, and Aventurine's a really, really solid sustain for that team. And unfortunately, I like using follow-up characters too. It's a lot of fun. Before Fei Xiao even came out, I was rocking Dr. Ratio, Topaz, the whole 9 yards. Robin, we were going crazy out here with Aventurine as a sustain for that team. But now we have an option to use Lingsha if we felt so inclined, freeing up potentially Aventurine for the Acheron team. Because before, instead of using Aventurine, a lot of us would throw Aventurine onto our follow-up team, for example, because that made the most sense, and then we'd use someone like Fu Xuan for the Acheron. The reason being is that despite Gallagher being able to work on that team, for example, some people wouldn't be able to use Gallagher on that team if they were using Firefly instead, for example. So it gives us more options. But on an Acheron team, in my personal experience, I think it's best to use a preservation character, because let's be honest, the Trend of Universal Market Light Cone allows you to apply debuffs without having to do anything. You just equip it, enemies hit you, you get debuffs automatically because it applies a DOT to the enemy, and that is literally a debuff. DOTs are debuffs. That's how that works. I'm sure you guys are fully aware of that by this point, but I figured I'd mention it to anyone who's new to the game. So preservation characters are usually best on Acheron, right? So this might give people an option to use Lingsha on another team. maybe not everybody has an E6 Gallagher, you know? You have to think about it from the perspective of maybe somebody that doesn't have literally every character in the game, right? Maybe not having Gallagher or high Eidolon Gallagher means that someone might want the Lingsha. Maybe somebody doesn't have Aventurine, right? And so maybe Lingsha makes sense for them. So there is still a lot of value in Lingsha. I think there's more value than people were giving her credit for before she ended up releasing, because obviously we do have the special programming. So we do get to see what their kit's like. We literally get to see the character in action during the special programming. We also get the character preview before the character comes out. We're not like, you know, we could get more information. It would be nice to not have to look at, you know, nudge, nudge, wink, wink spoilers for every single character, but we're not completely blindsided when the character comes out. So a lot of people were a little bit disappointed with her, the way she was set up, the way she was created, not her build, but like the way that they built her up to be a fire healer, very similar to Gallagher, working around the break effect meta, and she is better as a break effect character a lot of the time than, like, for example, being a follow-up sustain. I have tested her a whole lot on the follow-up Dream team, and she performs very, very well. That's why I'm saying she's viable for both the current metas that have been pushed so heavily by Hoyoverse, which is break effect, and follow-up. She's very solid on both teams, so she does have that value factor, but she doesn't necessarily have the wow factor that someone like Aventurine came on and immediately made. She does have really, really solid damage output of her own, depending on how you built her. I built her for high octane damage. I did not care about how good she could heal, right? Because her healing abilities are so darn good, you don't have to really worry about that. I didn't bother worrying about how well she healed or putting any outgoing healing on her or nothing like that, right? She works very, very well. And most of my team will just destroy the enemies before I even need to worry about healing anyway, so maybe I'm a little out of touch or whatever you might want to say. But I consider her healing to be very, very strong, good enough to where you don't even really need to worry about her using skills or anything like that. She's very skill point efficient. She has good solid damage of her own, and she's really easy to use as long as, you know, she's really easy to use even if you don't understand her kit that well. But if you do, you know that you know how to use her, right? She's even easier to use, and she's a lot of fun in my opinion. I think it's cool. I just wish she was a different element. I think if she was a different element, a different combat type, none of us would be complaining about this at all. Literally at all. It would have given Firefly teams another option for a sustainability character because it would have been a different damage type, so it would work against enemy weaknesses better, right? For maybe for follow-up teams, I guess her being fire is actually kind of a good thing. It gives you another option instead of having an imaginary Aventurine on your team, so that's kind of good. But let's be real, most people are probably trying to use her on break teams, so it kind of sucks that she was that element. It would have been nice to see somebody like become, I guess you could say, the power creep to Bailu, or the power creep to, let's be honest, everybody power creep Natasha just by existing, right? But you know what I'm saying. For the sustainability slot in terms of physical, I think that we would have liked to have seen something physical or something maybe electric for Lingsha instead. That's my personal opinion, but I have a feeling that most of the community feels the same way. Despite that, she is still tier 0.5, and I don't know if you guys have checked this out or not. In Pure Fiction, she's actually a tier 0 character, at least right now. Apocalyptic Shadow, she's also a tier 0 character. So is Gallagher right now. Obviously, Gallagher's going to do well because you could make the argument Apocalyptic Shadow is kind of meant to help promote the character to a degree. So if Lingsha is a fire type and so is Gallagher, of course he's going to probably perform well, right? So definitely something to like that's interesting, I think, and worthy is that depending on the game mode, she could potentially even have more value than she does in something like Memory of Chaos. I know the main focus of the video is supposed to be Memory of Chaos, but I thought it was worth pointing that out. Anyways, there's going to be a reset for the Memory of Chaos very soon. I think it's only 4 days away. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong on that. So maybe we'll see some changes to the tier list once we get that reset. But as of now, she's performing really, really well. She's not some mid-tier character, but she's not necessarily like the quite what a lot of people wanted. Despite that, I think she's better than people were expecting. Anyways, if you guys like this kind of stuff, consider leaving a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.